think of, I've got to have a certain skill set, or I've got to be, equipped in a certain way to go and do what God wants me to do. But really, it's not that complicated. It's really a matter of you just being willing to go and do what God wants you to do. There's an old saying that goes like this: God's not interested in our abilities, He's interested in our availability. And it's like, a lot of times we think, oh, well, I don't have that skill set, or I'm not equipped to do that. When really, you don't have to be. You just have to be available for God to use. And really, right now, those of you who are students especially, you're probably the most mobile and capable of doing things now than you ever will be. As life goes on, and you're going to have, college, and then you're going to have bills, and then you're going to have, kids, and then you're going to have your job, and all this stuff that would complicate your life and kind of tie you down. But right now, you don't have all that. You have tons of time. You have opportunities to go and do things that you are never going to have another chance to do the rest of your life. There are going to be opportunities given to you because you live in America that people around the rest of the world are never going to have. And by the way, America is the greatest nation on the planet. There is no place that I've ever been where people are just like, I don't care about ever going to America. Everywhere I go, people are like, man, I want to go to America. I want to come and live in your country. And it's because we have everything at our fingertips. It's all right here. It's all right. You guys have your phones and your iPods and all that kind of stuff. And you can be connected just like that. You have access to information. You have access to resources. You have access to all of this stuff. Opportunities that other people around the world never, ever will have. But because of that, you have more responsibility. You are going to be accountable for more because you've been given more. So my question to you is, what are you doing with what you have? What are you going to do with your time? What are you going to do with your life? What are you going to do with what God gives you? What is your mission? That's the overarching theme for this weekend. It's like, what is your mission? What is it that God wants you to do with your life? What is it that God wants you to do with what you've been given? How can you use that? Some of you from last year will know that I've been to Africa several times, and it's not one of those things that I grew up thinking, I'm going to go to Africa. My first mission trip, I didn't go on a mission trip until I was a freshman in college. I think it was 1986, something like that, where I was going on my first mission trip to Costa Rica. I had never gone out of my hometown, really. I'd never been on an airplane for sure. And I was petrified. But I went because our church was going to take a mission trip. And so I was like, well, yeah, I want to go on a mission trip. And I was so scared on this plane. I'm sitting there next to my girlfriend, crying like a baby. I'm like, we're going to die, we're going to die. My youth pastor is sitting there. He's like, dude, get a hold of yourself. I'm like, okay, we're going to die, we're going to die. He's like, you're not going to die. It's like, yes, we are, we're going to die. I looked outside the window, we're going to land. And I didn't know this because I was just, I had never flown. But I'm sitting right there on the window, at the window, and on the wing. And for those of you who don't know, whenever you go to land, there are flaps on the wing that just fly up. Okay? I didn't know that. So I see these flaps, but I'm not thinking it's flaps. I'm thinking it's sheet metal that's flying off of the plane. I just see these things go. I'm like, I'm like freaking out on this plane. I was just petrified. But why would I do that? And I'm still petrified of flying. I don't like flying at all. Every time I get on a plane, I'm like, Lord, I'm doing this for you. Because I don't like to fly. It's like falling from 30,000 feet in the air is not my idea of fun. Okay? I don't want to die that way. Okay? That's not how I want to go. All right? But I do it because I'm like, well, Lord, my life is in your hands anyway. And so if you want me to go to another country, then as much as I don't like flying, I'll get on the plane and I'll go. So I ended up in Africa, not because I had this dream of going to Africa, not because I had this dream of digging wells for people to have clean water. It's because a guy came to my church and said, hey, we have a ministry in Africa where we go and dig water wells. And he gave this whole spiel. And at the end of that talk, he said, who would like to go? I'll go. I'll go to Africa and help you dig a well. My first time to Africa I spent a month, 30 days, in a place that I had never been before. It was like, it was insane. I got sick. I had like a heat stroke. Not to gross you out, but I was in the bathroom 14 times in one day. I mean, you talk about dehydration. I mean, I was like out of it. Why would you do that? Because God. That's why. I'm going to show you this video made in 2005, and you're going to see this guy named Festus at the very beginning. I haven't been to Africa for the last 3 years, and one of the reasons I haven't been is because instead of using the money to buy a plane ticket that costs about $2,000, we're taking the money that we would use for things like that and just sending it over to pay for school fees. Festus is one of the guys that we've been sponsoring and supporting for several years, and he's about to graduate from college. There's another guy named Prince that we've been sponsoring. He just graduated in November from college. He calls me every week from Nigeria, in a small little village where they don't have consistent electricity, where they don't have running water, but they've got a cell phone. And he can call me. It's ridiculous. But I hear from him every week. And so the ministry that I never thought I would have, that I never dreamt of having, continues on even when I'm not there. And my point to you is this, is that you can have ministry around the world because you have a cell phone. You can have ministry around the world because you live in the greatest country in the world that has instant access to the internet, where you can go online and you can communicate with somebody around the world just like that. And your life can make a difference by hitting click and PayPal, by you giving a donation to another organization to help meet the needs of somebody around the world. I'm going to share this video with you, and I'll kind of talk you through a little bit of it as it goes along. World Care Ministry is the other ministry that's there. We kind of partner with them every year.
Very happy to welcome people once again to Tutu in Amakofia. You people have been so good to me and so pleased to me, and a friend of good relationship. And I love that for all things, for numerous things you've done for us right from the beginning. You left your works and all the rest of the things in America to come here for our benefit, for our immense benefit. So I appreciate that. When I am down and oh my soul so weary,
a lot of kids have to get up early in the morning
troubles
and fetch water. They don't have shoes. They get up at 4 or 5 in the morning before they go to school to get water.
Then I am still and wait here in the silence.
They have to walk to school. They have to carry their own benches, their own stools. Some kids can't go at all because they can't afford it.
You raise me up so I can stand on my.
They don't have youth groups and youth ministries like you do. So we come up and try to do events for students. We play games, teach them sign language, and then in the afternoons they end up working as well.
Your shoulders, you raise me up to more than I can be.
Our major transportation is through those motorcycles. We dig wells by hand where you have to pull the dirt up. We give out free clothes, provide the water, teach sign language.
me up to more than I can be. There is no life without its hunger. Each restless heart beats so imperfectly. But when you come, I am filled with wonder. Sometimes I think I glimpse eternity. So more than I can be. You raise me up to more than I can be.
I've been able to help dig 11 wells in 2 different countries, in the Republic of Benin and in Nigeria. All those wells we've had to do by hand because we don't have, the expensive equipment. So it literally can take up to a month to dig these things. And you just pick a spot on the ground and you start digging until you get water. And then after that you have to, do a bunch of other work by cleaning the water out, and then you have to concrete and all this kind of stuff. But we didn't do it with any kind of fancy equipment. We just did it with buckets. And so what I'm saying to you is this, is that it's like, you don't have to have all this stuff. You just have to have a desire. You just have to be willing to go and do what needs to be done. That's all you have to have. You just have to have a willingness to go. And because I was willing to go, and willing to go more than just one time, because a lot of times, mission trips is all about just us feeling good about ourselves. It's like we go and we like to come back and say, well, I went there and I did this. But I've been several times, and because I went several times back to the same place, developing relationships with these people, that the king was like, well, we're going to give you an honor. We're going to make you the chief of youth in our village. And so that's what they did. They gave me this title called Chief Inyoma, which means good friend of Ututu. And that was an honor they gave me, and had to stand before the king and answer all these questions about, what I believed and why I believed it, and what I was going to do to help, Nigeria and Ututu in specific, cases. How was I going to be involved? And so ever since then, I talk about Nigeria, we talk about sending money and helping. Even though I haven't been the last 3 years, we're still supporting and helping people there. The ministry that we're partnering with is building a Bible college there. It's almost finished. In my times there, I've been part of moving blocks and digging out the foundation and all that kind of stuff. And we're almost to the place now where we can bring people over and have pastors that will come and teach other people about the Lord. So it's very exciting for us. That's a little bit about our work in Nigeria. But I want to talk about your work. I want to talk about what it is that God wants you to do with your life. What are you going to do with your time? The overarching question for this weekend is, what is your mission? What is your mission? What does God want you to do?